to the explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that's absolutely critical for any SAP S4HANA implementation: data migration. Think about it. This is the journey your company's most valuable asset, all its data, has to take. So let's get into it. So you're making the big move to SAP S4HANA Cloud Private Edition. That's awesome. But every single project runs smack into the same huge question. How in the world are we going to get all of our business data from the old systems into the new one safely and correctly? And just to be super clear, this is not a simple copy and paste job. Not even close. Data migration is incredibly complex, it's meticulous work, and honestly, the stakes couldn't be higher. If you get this wrong, it can cause some serious headaches. But if you get it right, well, that's the foundation for all your future success. Okay, so let's really break down the challenge we're facing. In this first part, we're going to get a good handle on what makes this whole process so tough. Because you've got to understand the problem before you can really appreciate the solution, right? To get through all this complexity, you need more than just a plan. You need a powerful guide. A real, dedicated tool that's built to manage this whole journey from beginning to end. And luckily for us, SAP gives us exactly that. So, let's meet this guide. This is where we get to know the main tool for your entire migration adventure, the SAP S4HANA Migration Cockpit. Now, here's what's so great about the Migration Cockpit. It's not some extra thing you have to buy or bolt on. It's an embedded, no-cost tool that's already part of the system. It even comes with a whole library of ready-made templates to walk you through the process, whether your old data is in another SAP system or, well, pretty much anything else. But before you can just jump in and start moving data, you need the right keys to unlock the door. And it's not just one key. It's actually a two-part security system to make sure everything stays secure and nothing gets messed up. And this is exactly how those two keys work. On one side, you've got permission 1. This is for the Migrate Your Data app. Think of that as the key to the whole workshop. It just lets you in the door. But then you have permission 2, which is for the Final Data app. This is like the key to a specific toolbox inside the workshop. So if you're migrating bank data, you need access to the Manage Banks app. You absolutely need both keys to get the job done. All right, so you've got your keys, you're in the cockpit. Now what? Well, the next big decision is choosing your path, because this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. You've got options. You've basically got 3 main choices. The most common one by far is using local template files. It's super popular because the setup is so easy. Now, if you're dealing with a ton of data, we're talking massive volumes, you might go with a remote SAP HANA database. Just know that one's going to require some serious developer skills. And finally, if you're coming over from an older but compatible SAP system, the direct migration is a really solid middle ground option. Okay, since it's the one most people use, let's zoom in and take a closer look at that first method, migrating with local templates. This is the process you're most likely going to follow. The whole thing is really a straightforward 6-step dance. First, you create your project and download the template for the data you need to move. Then, the fun part. You fill that template up with your old data. After that, you upload the file, and the cockpit helps you map your old fields to the new ones. And this is key. You run a simulation first to catch any errors before you do the real thing. Then, you migrate, and you're done. Pay attention to this one, because it could save you hours of headaches. Seriously. When you're filling in those templates, you have to be careful. Any hidden formatting from a simple copy-paste can totally corrupt the file. So here's the pro tip. Always paste as values only or text. It strips out all the junk and gives you a nice, clean upload. And speaking of uploads, how big can these files be? The limit is 100 megabytes. But here's a cool little trick. An Excel file that's way bigger, say 160 megs, can often be zipped up and compressed to fit under that 100 megabyte limit. So you can really pack a surprising amount of data into a single go. So you've kicked off the migration. The data's moving. The last thing you want to do is sit there and stare at a progress bar for hours, right? So let's talk about how you can keep an eye on things without being glued to your screen. And this is just a fantastic quality of life feature. The system is totally designed for you to start a big migration job and then go do something else. You don't have to babysit it. You can be productive while it works in the background. So how does that work? Well, there's this great app called Data Migration Status, and it uses a really smart notification system called Situation Handling. Just think of it like a helpful assistant that taps you on the shoulder and sends you an alert when a job is finished. Or, more importantly, if it runs into a problem that needs you to take a look. It means you can get back to your day, and when the system needs you, you can jump right into the detailed results and stats. But what if your data is a little unique? I mean, no two businesses are exactly the same, right? Your data probably has some custom fields or quirks. Well, that's where customization comes in, because the cockpit is built to be flexible. For a lot of simple stuff, like custom fields you've added, the cockpit is actually smart enough to find them and automatically include them in your templates. Pretty cool. But for the really advanced stuff, like if you need to completely change the rules for how data gets mapped, there's a powerful tool called the Migration Object Modeler. That's for developers to get under the hood and really fine-tune the migration logic. So let's wrap this all up. What are the big things to remember? First, the SAP Migration Cockpit is your command center for this whole journey, and it's already built in. Second, you've got 3 different paths to choose from, but for most of us, that local template method is a clear step-by-step winner. And finally, with smart tools like status tracking, you can manage the whole thing without letting it take over your life. Look, the map is laid out, the tools are in your hands, and the path for your data is clear. The journey is planned. So the question isn't really about how you're going to do it anymore. It's about what you're going to build once all your data arrives in its new home. All right,